What's up everyone, welcome back to Saint Seiya Awakening. We've got a new unit in the game, and not just any old unit, it's the 6SS unit, Artemis, the goddess of the moon. Go get pen and paper ready because this girl is not easy to understand. We're gonna look at all of the details of her skills, Cosmo, teams, and also possible counters. Now, before we get started, there's something that's very important to understand, and it's that Artemis has two different ways in that we can play her. We can choose one of these two with her fourth skill, which is a passive/active. It gets really complicated at that point, but there's two basic skills that don't change. No matter how we're gonna use them, these two skills always remain the same. It's the first one and third, so let's look at those first. The first one is called Phantom Moon, and it's an individual cosmic type attack that has a really high multiplier for a basic attack. On level 5 it goes up to 200, but it can also heal our ally with the lowest HP every time she uses it. That heal is also very decent at 120% of Artemis's cosmic attack. The third skill, called Divine Deprivation, is first of all an attack that deals a good chunk of damage. It starts at 300%, goes all the way up to 600, but the special function is that this skill resets the enemy that we use it on. And what we mean by reset is that it basically returns that unit to the way that it started the battle. That's the easiest way to explain it, because this includes a whole bunch of different things. For example, if the character evolves like Mew or the Divine Chicken, then it will devolve it. If the character uses a protection like Divine Shun or Shion Sapuri, it will reset it and remove the protection. Even skills that can only be used once, for example Ophiuchus Revive and Hades Eclipse, if Artemis resets those units after they've already activated that skill, they're gonna be able to use it again. So you have to be really careful because, for example, you could cause the enemy Ophiuchus to have the revive up twice. Another thing that it removes is the protection of the gods. So for example, if the enemy uses Ares, we can use the third skill on that enemy to reset him back to the original state in the battle and remove Ares. It also works on Aphrodite's shyness, but in this case, because we can't target the unit that's hidden, what we do is we target the unit that activated the shyness. So for example, Athena activates the shyness on Pandora. Pandora is hidden, but we can reset Athena and that will remove the shyness as well, because Athena goes back to her original state in the battle where she hadn't activated it. It's really an extremely strong skill, and that's why it has the longest cooldown in the game. Artemis can only use this once every 4 turns. In the game it says rounds, but it's not complete game rounds, it's actually turns. So if we give her a double turn with Luna or with Hashun, we can shorten it. The skill also resets every enemy only once. So for example, we can't keep devolving Mew, we can only do it once. The last downside to this skill, because it is so strong, is kind of a passive aspect, and that's that the cost of using this skill will go up every round. At the beginning of the fight we can use it for 0 energy, but on the second round, if we haven't leveled up the skill, the cost is gonna go up by 2, so it's gonna cost 2 energy. In the third round it's gonna cost 4 energy, etc. That increase also has a limit. In skill level 1 it can cost up to 6, while on skill level 5 the maximum is 3. And that's it. Those are her basic easy skills. Now let's look at the complicated ones, and let's skip the second one because this changes. We have to start off with the fourth one, which is a passive/active, and I say that because we can only use this once at the start of the battle. When the fight starts, Artemis has to choose what mode she wants to be in. We have Brilliance and we have Hunter. Depending on which one we choose, the passives on this fourth skill change, and the function of the second skill changes as well. So as to not get confused, let's look at everything that Brilliance does completely, even with the second skill, and then we'll look at everything that Hunter does. When we choose Brilliance, we're gonna have 3 functions in this fourth skill in the passive. The first one is that Artemis is going to have a chance to assist or to join her allies' attacks when the allies use basic skills. And this assist is incredible because it ignores pretty much every single control in the game with the exception of Nightmares. And yes, that includes Cannon's Triangle, it includes Shun's Chain. Even if she's flying because of Ayakos, she will still assist from the sky. It's insane. The only thing that stops her is the Nightmare. The second function in Brilliance is that Artemis is going to limit the amount of energy that the enemy can produce. For example, Gemini Cannon, he creates 3 energy on his first move, right? If we have the skill level up like I do here on level 5, we're gonna prevent 2 of those energy from generating, so Cannon is only gonna be able to create 1. Now instead of Cannon, let's say the enemy is using Athena SS, she only generates 2 energy, and if she uses that skill with this, we can block both. This is great for reducing the amount of things that the enemy can do in the first 2 rounds, because it only lasts for 2 rounds. The third effect in Brilliance is that when an enemy kills Artemis, that enemy unit will fall into a deep sleep. That's the type of sleep that can be woken up if the enemy is attacked. Now with this Brilliance, we also have a specific skill here on skill 2. This one is going to be Moonlight Shining, and it's very similar to the field that Athena and Hypnos create, where it activates like this aura and stuff happens while we're there. In Artemis's case, 4 different things happen. The first one is that all of our allies that use a basic skill are going to receive a damage buff. The second effect is the opposite. If our ally uses a special skill, then the damage will be reduced. The third one is that every ally that uses his basic skill is going to receive a defense buff. Lastly, the fourth effect is that every ally that uses the basic has a chance to move move again immediately. And on skill level 5, this goes to 100% chance, so it's guaranteed that all of our allies with basics are going to attack twice. Now the limitation here is that on that second move, we cannot use skills. We have to use the basic again. If it wasn't this way, it would be completely broken, because you could use a basic on the first move, get rid, for example, of a silence, and then on the second move activate a skill, which would just be absolutely broken. As a side note, a weird effect of this double turn is that the second movement is kind of like a silence. It counts as a control effect, so if you have Pandora on your team, she's gonna be healing after that second attack because our ally is coming out of control. It's totally crazy, but that's it. That's where Brilliance ends. Now, let's look at everything that we get with Hunter. This is her attack mode, let's say. The fourth skill under Hunter has 3 effects as well. The first one is that Artemis can transfer energy from one round to the other if it's left over, and it's very cool because she can do it with your energy or the enemy's. If either team has remaining energy at the end of the round, she can transfer 1 or 2, depending on what level we have the skill. I think on levels 1 and 2, we transfer 1, and on levels 3 to 5, we transfer 2. The second effect also has to do with energy, and this gives Artemis the ability to gain 1 energy right after her move. This is awesome because even after using her skill, we're still going to have the 3 energy available at the beginning of the battle. The third and last effect is the same as Brilliance, where if an enemy kills her, that enemy will fall asleep. And now we can look at the skills we get on the second one when we're in Hunter mode. This time we're going to have 2 available. The first one is also like a field, which we activate once and we get some special effects. The first one is that all of our allies receive a defense buff immediately, both cosmic and physical. The second effect is that we can store some of the damage that our allies are doing so that Artemis can use it later. Now, how much of that damage we can store is limited by Artemis's cosmic attack. The third effect is that when we activate this field in that first move, we can reduce the energy cost of one of our allies. The downside is that that same ally will have increased energy cost on the second move. So for example, Divine Shiryu, it's a unit that consumes 3 energy to activate his protection, but typically in the second move he doesn't really have to do anything, he just uses the basic to mark an ally. He is the perfect candidate because we can reduce by 2 the cost of activating the protection, and then on the second move we don't really care if the energy consumption goes up because we're not going to use it. Hades is another great example. We activate the Eclipse and we can do it for free, and then on the second move we're probably just going to mark an enemy. This is an incredibly strong skill because it allows us to do a lot more in that first round. The second part of Hunter mode comes after activating the field, and this is an attack ability called Hunt of the Moon. It deals a very respectable chunk of damage, 600% of her cosmic attack, but it will also release any stored damage we have from here, from the field that we activated first. That damage is actually really cool because it ignores a lot of protections. It can go right through June's Vine. It can also ignore shields that are based on life. So for example, the regular Xion, Mu, Poseidon, Lune, all of those shields that are gray, all of those can be ignored. What she can't ignore is protection. So Xion Sapuri or Divine Shun, those protections she cannot break through, which is a shame. It would be really cool if she could do it. But as cool as that sounds, that's actually not the end of the skill. After she uses this attack, she becomes immune to damage a certain number of times. On skill level 1, she can dodge damage once. On skill level 5, she can dodge damage 5 times, which is insane, but that's where the skills end. Now, before we move on to how to skill her up, I will mention one thing, and it's that it's impossible to really see all of the levels for each of these secondary skills. You can't do it in this screen that we are here right now. If you want to check all of the levels, you have to go to the codex, and here you can click on a skill and then click on the secondary one, and it actually brings up the menu with the description for every single level. This is really useful to learn exactly what it is you're gonna get, and it's important to know that because she is a tome hog. She's gonna take a lot of tomes to use her properly. As you can see, I have her 4, 5, 4, 5, and I'm not done. She's a double S unit, so she uses green tomes instead of blue. The other thing that makes her really expensive is that skills 2 and 4, you really have to take him to level 5 if you want to depend on them. It's only at level 5 that the activation rate goes to 100%. We already know in this game, if we don't have 100%, we can't trust it. So that alone for a basic Artemis, let's say, is a cost of 40 tomes. We can leave the first skill on level 1, though ideally we would have it leveled up. The second one goes to 5 to have full activation. The third one can stay at 1 again because this is a skill that doesn't make sense to take to level 2 or 3. It's either level 1 or you go to level 4 or 5. 2 and 3 make no sense at all. The fourth skill, like we mentioned, we're gonna run at 5 because then again we have a 100% chance. That's 40 tomes for a basic Artemis. A more evolved Artemis would have the first skill leveled up to hopefully level 5. That's where I plan on getting her before this event is over, because the multiplier is actually really good and the heal is amazing. She's going to be assisting so many times, and with each one of those assists she can heal our team. So 5 on skill 1, 5 on skill 2, the third one again we can leave at level 1 unless we're going all in, and the fourth one at level 5. That's 60 tomes. The Omega Artemis now comes a lot closer to 80 tomes. We already had 3 skills at level 5, so all that's left is this third one. It works perfectly fine at level 4, but if you're going all in and you want the Supreme Artemis, then go to 5, spend your 80 tomes and enjoy. Over on the 8th sense, guys, she is a goddess. We're gonna use her in PvP, so we're gonna open everything. The focus for her is cosmic attack and speed, so I would start with alpha, that gives us exactly that. Then gamma, which gives us cosmic attack and resistance to physical crits, which is great to prevent her from getting one-shot. Then we have delta with HP and resistance to both types of damage, and lastly beta with HP and status resistance. Under Cosmo, fortunately, we do have some options that are not exactly pay to win. A lot of the classic options actually go really well on her. I, for example, have her on Rosary right now because I happen to have some with decent speed. Rosary gives us 2 boost of Cosmo attack and also cosmic damage. The alternative is Dragon's Chant with cosmic attack, Cosmo defense pierce, and cosmic attack again. But this is a Cosmo that goes much better on straight up attackers. She's like an attacker support, just annoying as crap. If you have really good Dragon Chants, go for the full attacks and you can use your Rosaries that you're not using anymore on her. I'm gonna switch over to the blue where the clear option is Hummingbird, cosmic attack, speed, and Cosmo damage. If you need an ultra fast Artemis because, I don't know, you're a Jameer competitor or something like that, New Moon is an option, but you do lose a lot of damage potential. In Lunar, almost anything fits her. We're going to be looking for substats, but Spirit Print and the Cross are just so popular right now because they reduce the damage that we take so much. They're by far the best option, but they're not exactly easy to get. In the Legendary, we have a lot of options as well, and unfortunately, some choices work really well for one mode, but not for the other. That's the case of Cosmo that does something to the enemy. For example, Blood Elf. We can break the defense with all of the assists if we're in Brilliance mode, but it's a Cosmo that's really crappy if we're gonna use the Hunter mode. It just doesn't work at all because we're gonna be touching the enemy once. Now for Hunter, if we're going for damage, there's some that fit her well as well. We have Vulcan Chain, we have King Giant, but those are not exactly great for Brilliance. So if you wanna go for something that's kind of in the middle, you could bring some protection in the form of Rising Dragon Teeth, or you can go for a full support Cosmo like Iris or Marsh Fairy. And Marsh Fairy to me is actually a really good choice because it allows you to not bring other units that you had to bring before. For example, Athena SS might not be needed anymore, or Hashun or June or other options that you usually put Marsh Fairy on. She could be the bearer. In sub-attributes, like we mentioned, we're going to be looking for speed, Cosmo attack, HP defense and resistance to help her survive a little bit longer, and lifesteal, even though I haven't been able to find much, is something that can go really well on her because with all of the assists, she can pretty much keep herself topped off with a good level of HP steal. On to teams then, and if you thought the abilities were hard, this is going to be even harder because she has so many functions and she's so flexible that she can combine well with most units in the game, as long as you're bringing the units that fit the mode that you're using. If you're using Brilliance, then it makes sense to bring things that can do something with the basic. Here we have both Milos, we have Aphrodite, Thanatos, Shijima becomes a machine paired up with her, Golden Arrow Seiya, Poseidon, even Misty you could apply to provokes. There's a lot of units that benefit from that double turn with basics, and that includes a couple of really specific teams. For example, Ice Boys, they could be applying Ice Seals to their heart's content, basic, and then Yoga just freezes everything. You could also go with the musical team. After they enter the resonance, after they move once, these guys don't have to use abilities anymore. They can trigger everything automatically with just basics. It's an extremely annoying and powerful team that can basically completely lock down your enemy. Now in Hunter mode, we're gonna pair her up with units that consume a lot of energy, or that consume a lot of energy in the first round. We already mentioned Divine Shiryu and Hades, which are amazing with her. It could also be Mu. We could place a shield in the first round for free, and then we can split that shield with just the basic. Arayashiki could be awesome as well, doing the big attack for only 2, and then we could do the other attacks for free. It's gonna be really interesting to see all of the different ways that people find to combine her. Her weaknesses in the game are going to be primarily the cost of skilling her up. Asking people to spend 60 tomes on one unit is insane. This is gonna limit a lot of people from being able to use her fully. Second biggest weakness, the Nightmare. It is the only control effect that actually stops her from assisting in Brilliance. Under Brilliance, we have Thanatos as well, because all of the units are going to be moving twice. Thanatos can mark absolutely anyone, and unless that unit uses a special skill, it's going to have to move twice and it is going to die. She's also her own counter because her reset skill will work on an enemy Artemis, but keep one thing in mind, and this is something that I forgot to say when we were looking at the skills, and it's that at the beginning of the battle, she is completely immune to control. Nothing affects her, and that's so that she can use one of her 2 modes at the start. You can't prevent her from using one of these unless you one-shot her. In this case, the slower Artemis actually has a very small advantage, because the faster one will activate all her skills, and then the slower one can reset her. The slower one is going to be immune until she moves. The best solution to get rid of her is just to try to one-shot her as soon as possible. Get rid of her. She is extremely annoying. Her skills are really strong, but keep in mind that whoever kills her is going to fall asleep. Fortunately, even though she is very expensive, her uses in the game are pretty much everywhere. She's going to be amazing in PvP if we can get her through the ban, and she can also be useful in PvE for dungeons. Just kill everything with basics. Now we're going to do a demonstration in a arena, but in yesterday's Spanish review, we used Hunter, which is really the more complex skill, is the one that allows you to play with all the energy used, but the battle is pretty self-explanatory. If you want to see how this mode works, go check out yesterday's battle. In today's demonstration, we're gonna use Brilliance. And now that I think about it, we might not have to do arena. I think the very first fight we did yesterday during the stream, after we got her and leveled her up, was actually using Brilliance, and if I remember correctly, it was a pretty exciting one. Jesus Christ. You have to ban June, guys. Thanatos. There's not that many units. Double Milo? Here we go. Triple protección. How are we gonna kill? Milo tiene... Yes, le devolvimos el Cosmo ayer. He does have Cosmo. That's a lot of damage. Ahora, queda desprotegida mi Artemisa. Y ahora viene la mega protección de todo, bro. So much protection now. Protect Athena? You mean Artemis? Too late. Too late. He's not gonna have much energy though. No va a tener tanta energía acá en este primer round. Donko con 6 meses. Muchísimas gracias, bro. Felicidades por tu casco de pollo. Thank you. Unless he plays with... And there's not a lot of people playing with Brock right now, though. Hey, y los básicos... Hey, why did I only get 2 attacks? Why only 2 attacks? Okay. Debería haber escondido a Artemisa. I should have hidden her. Oh, he doesn't go for it, aunque tiene escudo. Voy a esconderla. Ok, la asistencia se va al azar entonces. Con Shishima debes atacar personajes distintos. ¡Ah! Tienes razón. Sí. Tienes razón. Estaba concentrado en hacerle daño a ese Shun con las asistencias de Artemisa, pero hay que marcar más. Tienes razón. You should mark more characters. Buen poco de daño y además la mierda esa le pega a personajes escondidos. Why is my Milo doing so little damage, bro? Oh, he gets damage resistance. Él obtiene resistencia al daño, Radamantis. Pero ¿vieron cómo se curó? You see how she healed? Con el robo de vida de las asistencias. Ah, se murió Pablito. Saludos, he estado con mucho trabajo, ya que estás más libre, regala unos subs. Saludos a todos. Gracias, Enorki, muchísimas gracias, bro. Ahora sí tengo que volver a activar esto. This is not good. Shiryu was protecting him. Shiryu protect. Yep. Shiryu protect. Yep. No puedo pasar de ahí porque... Ni idea, MacPato. Ni idea, bro. Maybe hay algún defecto, algún... Uff. Hey, stop it! Hey, Shiryu, what the f... Yo, the Shiryu's insane. Oh! Oh! Este Shiryu está re loco, man. Oh, this is gonna be bad. Lo único bueno es que mi Milo se mueve primero, pero esto está un poco grave, ¿no? Después de esconder a Milo. Sí, lo pensé también. Pero mi Milo se mueve... llega a los ataques en área acá. Tengo es que sobrevivir este ataque de Rada. I have to survive this attack. Ok. Sobrevivimos por el diente de dragón. Dios mío, esa protección de Shiryu de mierda. Bro, ¿por qué mi Milo está haciendo tan poquito daño? Never mind. ¡No! ¡Se murió! She died. Oh my, he fell asleep. Wait, se murió. Ese man se durmió. Hey, what? How is he still hidden? ¿Cómo seguía escondido? GG, bro. GG, man. Lo ganó Milo. That was Milo all the way. And that's gonna be it for today, guys. I hope the review is useful. I hope you enjoyed that fight. I know there's a lot of Spanish mix in there that happens during streams, but it was a pretty good demonstration because we got to see her work against a very protective team and actually proc that sleep there at the end of the fight. I'm gonna say goodbye for today. We'll be back with the next character review, which now that we've entered kind of the same cycle as China, is probably going to be the new Pandora. There's gonna be a new, like, control attacker Pandora coming out, so we'll definitely check her out when she lands here on Global. If you haven't already, please remember to hit like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you don't miss any videos, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye!